everyone. And what a freaking show we got lined up for you. Marco D'Angelo right off the bat. He's going to talk Iowa State versus West Virginia. And he'll take a look at the London, England NFL game. Jacksonville playing the Bears. Steve Merrill after that. He's going to look at the Yankees at Royals. Great game last night. And he's going to take apart Penn State at USC. There will be no third guest today. Instead, Teddy and I will be talking some NFL. If you guys want a game if you guys want to pick the games, go ahead. Teddy and I will take your advice. Teddy covers. What's your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. This is one you don't have to pick. If you're trying to suggest games for us to talk about today on the show, because I'm going to break down the Packers and the Cardinals. Arizona at Green Bay, right? NFL big game breakdown. And, of course, we'll also talk the Robert Saleh firing for the New York Jets and what bettors learned.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? Super surprise. I'm going to have a follow-up question on Teddy's big game breakdown. Oh, yes, I already know what it is. I don't even know what you're going to say, but I already have my follow-up question prepared. Puck time is up, everyone. 11 a.m. Eastern. We taped. Don't you worry, Teddy. We taped 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm on with Andrew McGinnis. Make sure to check that out. What do you want to say? What do you want to say, Gollum?
It's not possible for you to have a follow-up question yet because you haven't listened to any of my analysis. So if you have a follow-up question before you even start, then you're not doing your job.
Oh, Hot Wheels trademarked the term challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. Marco D'Angelo joining us. Marco, God, you're so good, man. How are you so damn good?
Just clean living, Prez, clean living.
You do edibles every night, Marco.
No, I don't.
I know. I wanted to make her. I do. I'm an edible-er. Anyway, my brother, let's go. Iowa State is playing West Virginia. -3 for State. Where are we going here?
Yeah, we're looking at this one, guys, and, West Virginia rolled big last week. I mean, they just absolutely trounced Oklahoma State. But let's be honest, that Oklahoma State defense has been getting shredded by everybody. Oklahoma State can't stop the run, and West Virginia ran the football. You ready for this? 65 times. This isn't, Air Force or Navy or Army. They ran it 65 times for 389 yards. That's not going to happen this week against this Iowa State defense. This is a defense that has played well all season long, and I look for them to dominate this game, shut down that West Virginia offense. And I got to note as well, last week, West Virginia had the luxury of a bye week before they played Oklahoma State. In 2 weeks to prepare for a team, especially a team that is in disarray like Oklahoma State is, that was a benefit that they don't have this week. I'm looking at this Iowa State offense, and I know that in the past people look at Iowa State and say, they struggle to score points. This offense is much better than it has been. They have run for 235 yards or more in 3 straight games. And when you can run the football, it opens everything else up. And if I look at this West Virginia defense, the running game wasn't tested last week because Oklahoma State was so far behind. They couldn't run the football. But you go 2 weeks prior to that, before they went into the bye, Kansas ran for 248 yards against them. I think that sets up Iowa State here. When they can run the football, it'll set up a lot of stuff on play action. I'll ride that defense. I've got a number here at 3 that basically we just need to win the ball game. I'll go ahead and go with that. And that Iowa State defense, I always like taking the better defense. 4.4 yards per play they're allowing, while West Virginia is allowing 6.1 yards per play.
So I got to ask you about full season stats right now, because when we look at these two teams, I see 2 very different strength of schedules. West Virginia's already played Oklahoma State, Kansas, Pitt, Penn State. Iowa State, well, they had Baylor, they had Arkansas State, North Dakota. They've been able to fatten up their statistical profile based on some lesser foes. Does that concern you? Do you look at strength of schedule when it comes to betting October college football? And if so, how do you factor that in?
Obviously, Teddy, you got to look at the December stats. They're the most deceiving because generally some teams, like you said, will have a cupcake on their schedule in September, where West Virginia, their strength of schedule really is dominated by the fact that they played Penn State that first game out of the season, and Penn State coming into the season was ranked as high as they were. That's going to sway their strength of schedule. But I got to look at what they did against those teams. They gave up a lot of points when they faced better quality foes. Penn State scored a lot of points against them. Pitt scored a lot of points against them. And Kansas scored points against them as well. I think Iowa State will score against them. And I think Iowa State, next to the Penn State game, this is the best defense they faced, Teddy. So they got to go with the schedule that's in front of them. We'll see now where those stats even out as they get into the meat of conference schedule. But you are right. Don't rely solely on early season stats when they got those September skewed numbers in there.
Marco D'Angelo, everybody. Guys, Marco absolutely rolling. I mean, this is like ad nauseum. Every bloody week, all we talk about is how great Marco is. 26-11 in the WNBA this season. Made his $100 bettors $3,215. Kudos to you, my friend. Also on a 10-4 run in his 4 and 5% plays. And guys, we got a really interesting promo going today. It's the Fill Your Cart promotion. Basically, anything you put in your cart today, if you use the promo code CART10, C-A-R-T 10, you get 10% off of anything in that cart. Marco D'Angelo, what do you have going for the clients tonight?
Well, I had you mention that WNBA record because I do have a big play tonight in game one of the WNBA finals. I have a 4% play going tonight. And Prez, I know a lot of people, you say WNBA, they don't like it. They don't want to watch it. You know what? You don't have to watch it. You don't have to like it. You just got to want to make money.
Marco,
and that's what we've been doing.
Marco, it's so strange. Like, you know, I would say that 90% of the bettors that we have stock, some stock. Mm-hmm. How do they watch that all day? Like, what do they do? Do they go to the company where they bought the stock, sit in the lobby, and check out who walks up and down? Like, why do you have to watch or like sports to make money? Surely you do not watch or like stocks. They don't do anything.
I'm taking under 90% of our audience that own stocks.
Fair. We got some youngins. But I'd like to give our audience a lot of credit, Teddy. I know. I'll tell you flat out. I mean, we've got some very, very wise, shrewd audience members. And speaking of those wide, shrewd audience members, hit that like button, please. Let's go. Teddy, Marco, let's move on to the next game to talk about. And this is the Jacksonville-Chicago game. Super interesting game here because Chicago has gotten on a little bit of a roll, but they came into the season expecting not much. And Jacksonville really came into the season expecting a playoff berth. Now they are 1-3. They finally won a game, 1-4. I like Jacksonville here, Marco. My gut feel is this is a team that has traveled to London a million times. I think they won last week. They get their act together. I like Jacksonville. Where are you going?
Well, I'm going to agree with you, Prez. I like Jacksonville here as well. And Jacksonville showed me something last week, gutting out a win 37-34. And the reason I say that they showed me something there, obviously we all saw that Monday Night Football game against Buffalo when they just absolutely got demolished and looked like a team that quit in the second half. They lost that game by 37 points. They come back the next week, give them credit. And I was on Jacksonville when they played Houston because it was a division game. They could have got themselves back in the race with a win against Houston that day. And they led that game the entire way until Houston rallied in the final drive and got the win. a team that was winless and gave such an effort like that and came up short against the division rival that pretty much put them at 0-4 and behind the 8 ball for the season could have very easily quit on the season, and they didn't. They come back and got a win last week, and it doesn't matter if it was an ugly win or not. A win is a win, and that's what can propel a team onto a streak. Now they go to London, like you said. We never know how teams are going to react going to London when they do it, that they're not accustomed to it. If there's any team that's accustomed to it, it's Jacksonville, because they play at least one game over there every year. And some years they've played 2, like they're going to be doing again this year. They'll be playing back-to-back weeks there. So they know the routine. Now let's look at Chicago. And you said, they put together, a little win streak. They won 2 games in a row. Let's pump the brakes. 2 weeks ago, they beat the Rams. I had Chicago in that game because the Rams were coming off an upset of the 49ers the week before, and the Rams were decimated with injuries. Chicago got the win. Okay, great. But, there's an asterisk to that win because of the condition and the situation with the Rams. Then last week, they beat up on a Carolina team. We know that this Carolina team has its faults, and so I'm not as impressed with that. Plus the fact those 2 wins, Chicago was +5 in the turnover margin, 5-0 in those 2 games on turnovers. You're supposed to win games when you have those kind of turnovers. I think the wrong team is favored here. You've got a Chicago team favored on the road. I think, I can't buy that. Right. And then here's a stat for you on Chicago. Since 2022, following a game where Chicago has scored 30 points or more, they're 0-6 against the spread. Now, I know Teddy's going to come back and say, yeah, but that's not with Caleb Williams. Well, it's not, but until he shows me he can do it, I'm still going to look at that stat until he does it. I just don't trust him on the road. And I said about that clean 2 games at home, 5-0 with the turnovers. His last 2 road games, the Bears did have 5 turnovers.
So I'm not going to ask you about that. I'm actually going to ask you about the matchup of the Jaguars the Jaguars defensive line versus the Bears offensive line and vice versa. Last week, Chicago pressured Andy Dalton on 20 of his 41 dropbacks. That's their highest pressure rate in the game since ESPN began tracking the metric in 2009. Their defensive line blew up the line of scrimmage again and again in that ballgame. Last week, the Jags faced Indy. And in that game, Trevor Lawrence had a 2.9% pressure rate. That was the lowest of his career. Of course, the Colts were playing without 3 of their 4 starters on the defensive line, and they had no pass rush whatsoever, and Trevor Lawrence had all day to throw the football. And lo and behold, his first 300-yard game of the season, and Jacksonville's first win of the season, and Jacksonville's first offensive good performance of the season. Now, we're looking at a Jags team that, in theory, is going to face a real pass rush. Does that worry you?
Well, obviously, having the pass rush there, but, again, the team that they faced last week, Carolina, their offensive line's not that good. And 2, you have Andy Dalton back there, okay? And Andy Dalton is not a mobile quarterback, especially at this stage of his career. Trevor Lawrence, although he's not, a runner, like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, he is definitely more mobile than Andy Dalton. So I think that'll be negated. It's still, you're asking a team with a rookie quarterback, in my opinion, to do something across the pond that they have to show me they can do that. This is a young team laying points on the road. And I know technically this is a home game for Chicago, but they're not at Soldier Field. I can't buy it, Teddy. I will tell you this much, and it'll probably be a client play as well. Not only do I like Jacksonville, but because of this total and because we have seen a tendency of lower scoring games over in London, this is another game that, give you a secondary play. Screams for you to take the 6 points added to this and get it over a touchdown with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well in a teaser.
Marco D'Angelo. Teddy, great question, albeit it went on forever and I fell asleep. Marco,
reason, Lawrence, the
response.
reason that I went longer is only have 2 guests today. So when we have time, I would rather use the time with our guests than have you yab, and waste the time. So, yes, I took longer to ask that
worry,
follow-up
Teddy.
question.
I got a show recommendation coming, so you might want to go to the washroom before you vomote all over yourself. Marco, your answer was excellent, by the way, to Teddy's follow-up question. Guys, I gotta quickly make an amendment to the Cart 10 promo. Johnny Detroit got on and said, Prez, it's 10% off of a daily package, a 1 day, a 3 day, a 7 day, a 30 day, or a 90-day package, or even a full month package. But it is not available for our Power Pass or EB season. I don't know what EB season. What was that?
Early bird specials.
Early bird special. And he said, if anyone emails in saying that I said they could have 10% off of the EB season or the Power Pass, the commission will be taken off of my check.
Do it now.
So, yeah. Email. Go ahead. I dare you. Okay, guys. Marco, you're so good, bro. Love having you on the show. We've promoted. Anything else?
No, that's it, guys. Have a good one. Cash a lot of tickets. And one last shameless plug. Look, tomorrow I will have, my feature that you guys like on Bet On It, the sandwich games. I've started doing this year an extra video where I give you some of the sandwich spots that almost made the Bet On It show. So check that out. The deli is open, guys. You'll see it on Friday.
Excellent stuff. I'm going for deli today. Jesse Shule, always in the chat room, making noise. Guys, hit that like button, please, real quick. Again, Puck Time up now. I'm on it with Andrew McGinnis. Guys, I did the penalty box segment yesterday. This is a thing I'm going to be doing every day moving forward. Teddy, instead of doing it on our show, I'm taping it at 11:45 a.m. Eastern. It's 5 NHL bets in 5 minutes. Yesterday, we went 3-2. We had over 1,400 of you guys watch that show. Thank you. Let's do it again. I have to get over 1,000 every day in order to keep that show going. Teddy, please be one of those 1,000. Bet my NHL plays. Make some money for you and your amazing wife. Just trying to help, bro. Just trying to help. Just trying to help you, dude. What did bettors learn?
So I'll talk about what bettors learn in just a minute, but we're giving promos. I got to give my promo because this is the deal. If you want to buy a Teddy Covers package, the 10% off does not apply to this deal because you get a lot more than 10% off. Use coupon code Teddy365 and get a 1-year pass, which are normally priced at $1,999 for just $99 a month. So you'll save more than $800 and you'll get every play, every day, in every sport that I release over the next 365 days. If you want to get on board with me, some of you don't, I understand. If you're interested in a Teddy Covers package, this is the package to get. I know it's pricey. I expect to make you money and you'll be in play every day for the next 365. So again, Teddy365 at checkout will get you $99 a month for a 1-year all access pass. You can get that right now at WagerTalk.com or on my page, wt.buzz/TC. That offer expires after Monday Night Football next Monday. So if you're going to do it soon. Let's talk about Robert Saleh and the Jets' move to fire him. And look, the timing, yes, everyone gets fired when they come back from London. But Saleh is essentially getting fired because his kicker missed a field goal 2 weeks ago. And they had a bad game in London. It's bizarre. The Jets will be in first place if they win the game on Monday night against Buffalo. And no coach in the NFL within one game of first place has been fired this early in the season since 1961. In my mind, this is an ownership issue. This is a management, a GM issue. This is not a team issue. But what do we do with the Jets moving forward? Number one, pretty big distraction. Number two, pretty big game this week. And of course, Aaron Rodgers going on Pat McAfee's show and talking, quote, as far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than 1 sentence and respond to it. And that is, I resent any of those accusations because they are patently false. It's interesting the amount of power that people think I have, which I don't. I love Robert Saleh, who is now gone. Of course, Jeff Ulbrich has taken over. And guess what happened today? Nathaniel Hackett, who everyone says is Aaron Rodgers' best friend, he got demoted with a shakeup on the offensive coordinator position. And now he will not be the play caller anymore. It's going to be Todd Downing, a guy who did it for Tennessee a few years back. The bottom line, Jets have lost 2 in a row. They're playing in the media capital of the world. All right, certainly the country. They'll still be playing for a share of first place against the Bills on Monday. And in my mind, that game is going to tell us everything we need to know. Because this could be a team is fractured scenario. They're not going to get better. This could be a team bond scenario. This week's game against the Bills, in my mind, is going to tell us that, which is why I'm probably not going to bet the game, but I expect to learn a whole lot from it. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with everything you said. It's insane. No wonder the Jets suck and have sucked for decades and decades. Their owner's a moron. He's not really a moron. I mean, Jesus Christ. He got to a position where he could own an NFL team. He's actually probably a genius, but he's a moron in the NFL. Okay, let's move on from that. And by the way, Teddy, I didn't promote. I only discussed my great show, but I will promote. I do want to give out a quick show recommendation to all of you guys out there. I know a lot of you guys like when I do this. Teddy hates it, and I could care less.
Take the under.
Bite me. The over and under is then 99%. So, yes, take the under. So, look, for all you Canadians out there, we all grew up watching one of the greatest bands of all time, a band that didn't really break massively in America, but is huge in Europe and Canada. And I think a band that is in the pantheon of the greatest bands ever, a band that sits there with the Beatles, with the Stones, with the Doors, with all the Queen, with all the U2, Coldplay, all the biggest bands in history of the world. And that band is the Tragically Hip. There is a documentary, 4-part documentary on Amazon Prime called The Tragically Hip, No Dress Rehearsal Required. It is the best music documentary you will ever see in your life. In your life. Gord Downey, R.I.P. Gord, he ended up getting brain cancer. And with about 10 months to live, 8 months to live, instead of doing treatments and trying to figure out a way out of the brain cancer, he decided to do a Canadian-wide arena tour where he stood on stage, couldn't remember the lyrics, sung like a god, and played this unbelievable tour across Canada while he thanked everybody and they thanked him. I bawled my eyes out last night watching this documentary. R.I.P. Gord. Watch The Tragically Hip. If you don't know their music, it is as good as it gets. Bob Cajun is a spectacular song. I can go on. Wheat Kings, Fiddler's Green, on and on and on. New Orleans is Sinking. Watch this documentary. What a band. Okay.
What
Teddy covers
what network is it on? What
Amazon Prime.
It
and it is
Prime?
It's
because you said Netflix a minute ago. So which one is it for real? Yes, you did.
Stop doing that. Yesterday you did it as well and you were wrong. Screw off. It's Amazon Prime and it is spectacular. Teddy, we do have an NFL game going tonight. I have a bet for my clients on that NFL game, so I can't give it out on air. I also have 2 NHL plays going tonight. So I got a 3-pack up there for my clients for $29. But guys, we're going to run out of time on my $49 package, 7 days of NHL. So make sure to grab that. It's up on my page. $49, 7 days of NHL. Okay, let's bring Steve Merrill in. Steve, have you heard of this band, The Tragically Hip?
No, I thought you were going to say Rush, and then when you said they weren't big in the U.S., I was like, well, I hope he doesn't say Rush, because they were pretty big in the U.S.
Johnny is sitting here going with the Beatles and the Stones, WTF, and Coldplay. Firstly, Johnny, Coldplay is one of the top 10, 15 bands of all time, whether you like their music or not. The Tragically Hip, shut up, Teddy. The Tragically Hip do not have the fame that the Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, and all those bands have, but they have the catalog. Go listen to their music, and you tell me.
I was pretty sure he was going to say Anne Murray, Steve.
Anne Murray. Anne Murray
That
was
would've been
pretty big
appropriate.
in Canada, but come on. The Coldplay is not a top 15 band. Okay, we got to move on. Anyway,
Hold on.
Steve,
Is
thanks for
Coldplay
joining
Canadian? I'm being dead serious. Is Coldplay Canadian?
us. No. They're
I was going to say, I didn't think they
from
were. I didn't
London.
understand the point of, okay, I was getting very confused. I'm going to stop going down this rabbit hole before I get
So
stuck with
Teddy,
that ladder.
minus 800. Steve has a promo to give out. Which way would you go?
Over.
Well, it's kind of
Or the yes. Money's on the yes.
Yeah, and Teddy, as I told Prez the other day, no offense, but I don't come on these shows just to talk with you guys and give out analysis without promoting my business as well, because I do have a lot of other things to do. So, yeah, that's a pretty safe bet, Prez. Minus 1,000, I'm going to breathe and drink some water today as well. That's a good bet.
Hey,
also.
just want to end 1 second. Johnny, Detroit, I can pick 50 bands better than Coldplay. So can I. But Johnny, you and I don't get to decide who the biggest bands of all time are. The general public do. Steve, baseball, Yankees at Royals. How do we bet this game?
Teddy, just so you know, it's going to be safe tomorrow. It's going to be safe Monday. You and I are co-hosting. Prez will be, and actually, you get Tuesday off. So, Teddy, it'll be till next Wednesday that you and Prez are on, 6 days from now. So, cherish the moments while you have them, my friend. Let's look at a free play tonight in this MLB Game 4 divisional round, Yankees-Royals. Boy, the TV networks are cringing, to say the least, because the Yankees need to win one of these next two games. Otherwise, we're going to have either Cleveland, Detroit, or Kansas City in the World Series. Of course, they'd love to see the Dodgers finish off the Padres. We'd have Mets-Dodgers. They would love either one of them. But I do think the Yankees, more likely than not, finish off this series tonight on Thursday. And with veteran Garrett Cole on the mound, they've got a pretty good chance to do so. This is a Game 1 rematch from just 5 days ago when Garrett Cole took on Michael Waka Waka. And it was a high-scoring game because both pitchers struggled. Cole gave up 3 earned, 4 runs in 5 innings. Waka, even worse, went just 4 innings and gave up 3 runs, and that earned as well. I do look for both pitchers to pitch better tonight. I think the under could be worth a look here, under 7.5. There are some 8s floating around. And the reason I say that is because the Yankees offense, despite winning last night 3-2, has been fairly cold. They put up only 4 runs in that game last night, and 4 hits and scored 3 runs. But they did leave 11 guys on base. In fact, they've left 11 runners on base in 2 of the last 3 games in this series so far. And I do think they could maybe break out a little bit more. So I'd like the Yankees here minus $1.45, $1.50 to finish off the series. But I would also hedge it a little bit with the under 7.5, under 8, just in case that offense doesn't heat up. Aaron Judge, I don't believe, has a hit in this series yet. 2 ways to look at that. He's cold or he's due to break out as well. Yes, Kansas City's up against it, back against the wall. Not sure, though, that's a good thing for an inexperienced young team here. Is really just happy to be in the postseason. Look for the Yankees to close this series out tonight on Thursday, and also I would lean under 7.5 as well.
I want to ask you this. My basic question for the Yankees is the price right? You know, it's not like you're getting a bargain back in Cole and the Bronx Bombers in KC today. You're laying $1.50 in that contest. We're seeing a little bit of money come for KC as we speak right now. If you're looking at the WagerTalk free live odds screen, down to 145 at some of the leading indicator books. So we are seeing a little bit of Kansas City money. But my question is not whether the Yankees are the better of the 2 teams they are. But in a matchup where Cole got hit the first time, KC's bullpen's every bit as good as the Yankees is, and Aaron Judge isn't hitting, I just wonder if this price is right. Isn't this a bit of a premium that you're laying with the Yankees tonight, or do you think the value's still there?
It's a little bit of a price, but, the other ways you could play this, Teddy, of course, is the run line. You're getting plus money, minus 1.5. My concern there, though, as I mentioned, is that the offense hasn't been explosive. Another option you could do is to make a -1 run line. A lot of books have that now, but as the late, great Dave Koken used to point out, you can make your own -1 run line by putting half your play on the money line, half your play on the -1.5. And at -150 plus 110, that would make it -1, -120. So that's another option here to get that price down a little bit, and also make sure that half run doesn't beat you with the -1.5. So -1, -120 run line is also a way to approach this. And the thing about baseball, which is different than football, is that, if they win, the price doesn't matter. Now, long term, it obviously does, and I'm very conscious of it. And that's one of the reasons I've done so well in baseball over the years, is that I don't lay inflated prices. But I do think the Yankees win this game tonight. You might be paying a premium, but when they get that W, it's not going to end up mattering.
Steve Merrill joining us, everyone. Steve, let's turn our attention to some college football. Penn State at USC. Oh, we heard from the Penn State coach yesterday. Blah, blah, blah. The travel schedule sucks. Anyway, who cares? How do we bet this game?
Very interesting travel matchup here. And one thing I've been fascinated by with the new college football landscape is these new conference realignments just lead to some crazy travel situations. We see a lot of these ACC teams like Cal going to the East Coast this season, but now some of these Big Ten teams are going to have to travel coast to coast, and Penn State is doing that here in this situation. Now, it always catches my eye when a team is playing their first road game of the season late, like 5-6 games into October. Technically, that doesn't apply here because, of course, Penn State already had one road game this season against West Virginia. But this is the first real true road trip, obviously, and it is a cross-country trip. And after being at home now for over a month straight, that West Virginia game, by the way, was August 31st, a short little trip for them. They've been home for 4 straight games the entire month of September into October, haven't traveled at all in over a month and a half. So I do think the travel situation is real here, and the fact that the coach is complaining about it kind of tells you that as well. I run 10,000 simulations for every FBS game every week, and I get an average victory margin, and it's really a good starting point for games I want to kind of make my short list, and this one does qualify here. In fact, my 10,000 game simulation on average has it as a pick'em, has Penn State winning by 0.2. So it's a toss-up, it's a tie game. There is line value with USC at +5. I like the scheduling situation as well. So the question becomes, is USC a team we can trust? I think it is. I know they're coming off a disappointing loss against Minnesota. It's their second loss in 3 games. Devastating loss probably for their national title hopes, to say the least. That is normally a letdown concern. But the fact that they're bringing in the number 4 team in the nation, Penn State here, I think they come focused. We saw the Washington Huskies in a very focused spot last week. I used that as a best bet for my clients as part of a 3-0 sweep last Saturday. By the way, college football has been just crushing it this year, ranked number 1 this season in college football. It's just been a fantastic run. And the simulation works well when we get line value and we get the situational analysis to back it up. It's a game that's worth considering. I think that all works here. Always a concern with the USC defense. This is a defense that was atrocious last year, but then they looked pretty good, obviously, in that opener against LSU. I still think they're maybe average at best this year, but the offense is explosive. They're averaging over 5 yards a carry, almost 7 yards a pass. Now, their passing attack has not been as good as in years past, but the running game is pretty solid, and I do think they can somewhat control the clock. And the other thing I want to point out about Penn State and Franklin and company is that they have a tendency to be bullies. They beat up on the weaker teams, cover big as favorites, but sometimes not as good when stepping up in class. And I do think this is a step up in class. I know they're technically a favorite here, but I make the game a pick 'em and the scheduling spot on top of that. Take a look at USC +5. I think there's some value with them, and they're a live dog on this Saturday afternoon.
So I want to ask you this. I'm interested in the total in this game. And so far, we've seen pretty much every sharp dollar come on the over. We saw 48, 48.5 at the open. There were a couple 49s. Now I'm seeing 50.5 and 51s. And those are the leading indicator books, which tells us that the sharp money has clearly come for the over in this game. You agree with that assessment or disagree?
Yeah, Ted, there's no question the sharp money's on the over. I'm glad you pointed that out. It's moved up, and it's crossing that key number of 51 almost. So for people out there who don't know key number in totals, we talk 37, 41, and 51 would be the 3 that come to mind. I do agree with the move. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not sold on that USC defense still, but I think the offense is pretty good. And keep in mind, last year, USC was just a pure overplay for most of the season for that reason. And also, this is a step up in class for the Penn State defense. Overall this season, they've given up just 4 yards per play, just 11 points a game, but they haven't faced an offense like USC. And I think that's another reason we've seen some money coming on the over. I mean, they've so far faced Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, and then UCLA last week. I mean, UCLA is really struggling offensively as well. So I do like the step up in class. That's one of the reasons I like USC, and I definitely would not disagree with the over.
Steve, it's time for the rarest of things, you promoting.
So it's a great time of the year to be an all-sports client at WagerTalk.com. This is the only time of the year over the next couple of weeks where you can get every sport going at once, baseball, football, and basketball, because basketball, the NBA starts in 2 weeks. I'm number one, not only the last 3 years combined, but in the history of Wager Talk in Units 1 of the NBA. College hoops was number one a couple years ago. That's right around the corner. And, of course, the last 2 seasons entering this year, I was number one in college and pro football, ATS Units 1, and got off to a number one start a couple weeks ago. I think we're number 2 right now, and that's because we lost 2 games on Sunday on the final play. Otherwise, we would have had a 6-0 sweep last weekend. Baseball regular season finished on a 31-13 run, and we're started off right here in MLB postseason as well. Great time to be an All Sports All Access member. And right now, when you buy a 30-day package, you can add a second 30-day package for just $99. There is no promo code needed. Check that out right now on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And while you're there, check out the daily free plays, the best bets as well. And you can figure out other packages that might work for you. But once again, that buy 30, get another 30 for $99 is a great offer because it's All Sports All Access. And this is the only time of year you can get football, baseball, and basketball all at one time. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with that promo code, or that shortcut code, rather, WT.buzz/SM. And just a reminder, I read the comments, I reply back. I love the support here on Wager Talk TV. Let's keep it going this weekend. Thumbs up, like, hit subscribe, and hit that bell for instant alerts so you'll know when my college football top 25 video and NFL Fade the Public videos are ready this weekend as well.
Steve Merrill, everyone. Teddy covers. Wow, hey, I wasted a lot of time with the Coldplay Tragically Hip conversation. So we're going to do your big game breakdown, and then a lot of the people in the chat room want to hear our thoughts on Dallas and Detroit. So let's do your big game breakdown first. I already have my follow-up question planned. Go.
Big game breakdown. Let's talk about the Packers and the Cardinals right now, looking at the free Wager Talk live odds screen. Green Bay -5 at most books. There is some variance. There's a 4.5 and a 5.5 out there, but we'll call 5 the prevailing number as we speak. Total sitting 47/47.5. There's 2 reasons why I can't play the Packers right now. Really 3 reasons why I can't play the Packers in this game. First and foremost, you can't lay points in the NFL this year. All right. We've seen the favorites of 5 or higher cover at a 20% clip. So I am absolutely, at this stage, heading into week 6, biased towards underdogs of +5 or higher, unless I've got a good reason to lay it with the favorite. Parity's been the play, and we're expecting more of the same. So that's factor 1. Is the league-wide trend has been very clearly don't lay points against decent teams. Factor number 2, strength of schedule-wise. The Packers have faced the Rams, they've had Tennessee, they've had Indy, they've had Philly. I guess their toughest opponent was Minnesota. Cardinals have faced San Fran, Washington, Detroit, Buffalo. They've had the tougher schedule. So who's battle-tested? It's Arizona. Packers, 5 games. 4 of them have been decided by less than a touchdown. The highest point spread covered was -3 last week against LA, and they only covered that thanks to a missed 2-point conversion. One other factor here worth considering. I forget how many things. I said 3 points, 2 points. I don't know. I'm going on and on. But, Arizona's number 9 in the red zone touchdown percentage. They're scoring touchdowns when they have the opportunity. Green Bay's not, number 18. Defensively, they're both in the same place, so there's no advantage for either squad, but Arizona's been better at executing in the red zone. Bottom line, the Green Bay leads the NFL in takeaways. They have 14 takeaways in the first 5 games. And we know that defense that create takeaways can continue to create takeaways, but we do not expect teams to live and die by positive turnover differential week after week after week. I think Green Bay may be a little bit overvalued as a result. There's been sharp money for the dog. They took out the +6s. I can understand why. Arizona or pass for this better. And again, use coupon code TEDDY365 and get every play every day for the next 365 days for $99 a month. It is the deal to get if you're interested in a long-term package with all of my plays. Again, TEDDY365 at checkout. This offer expires on Monday after Monday Night Football. Do not delay if you want to get on board. Lawrence?
Teddy, listen, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that I'm with you on this bet. I like Arizona here too, but I'm not getting to the window. And here is why, and this is my follow-up question, and why it was relevant to whatever you said. Why would you bet on a team or against a team, just bet a game that has a team that can put up 41 points one week, 13 the next, 14 one week, 24 the next? Why would you be involved in a game where a defense can hold a team to 10 points one week, 42 points the next? The inconsistency of this Arizona team lends me to just stay away.
So I'll answer that question. And in fact, Lawrence, it's a great question in one sense. As a bettor, the number one thing I love is an inconsistent team that I've got to read on.
Oh,
right? That's what I love, because the market's like, I don't know what to do with this team. You're like, no, they played good this week. They're going to play bad next week. They match up well against this opponent. They don't match up well against that opponent. As a handicapper, I don't mind the inconsistent teams when you can get a read on them. Can't say I love Arizona off a win, but certainly the game against the Rams, that was as strong an Arizona spot as you'll see ever, you know. And then the loss to Washington was about as bad as they can play. You know, they are an inconsistent team. That said, they've gone on the highway. They competed at Buffalo and at San Francisco. So we've seen them go on the road and play well twice, you know, or play reasonably. I mean, the two middle quarters of that Buffalo game weren't pretty. But they got the money in that contest. They got up to the hot start. But the bottom line is the teams that aren't consistent, our job is to figure out why and what games they're likely or less likely to step up in. And to me, that's a reason to get involved with any team that's inconsistent. I love, you know, again, when the markets don't have a read on a team and you do, advantage you.
I love it. Great answer, Teddy. And if way to have a read on a team that doesn't even have a read on itself. That's impressive stuff, bro. Okay, guys, real quick. I got a play going tonight in the NFL and 2 NHL plays. What do you got going, Teddy?
I have a single best bet in MLB. The the playoffs have been real good, man. I think I've won 4 in a row. I'm riding a 71% playoff run. I'm riding an 88% all sports run in today. We're running pretty good so far this month. We'll see if we can keep it going with a single best bet tonight. You want to talk about the Cowboys and the Lions, Lawrence?
I do, brother. We got a couple
live
of minutes.
On screen right now. I see Detroit -3. There are some shops you have to lay a little bit of juice, -15, -20. Total 52 pretty much across the board. How do you break it down, Dallas and Detroit?
So for me, Teddy, I'm really looking at the over here. And look, we go through this time and time again. Oh, my God, it's so high. Bet the highest totals over, the lowest totals under. I look at this game as a 52, and I think to myself, okay, Dallas and Detroit, both top 5 offenses last year. Now, is last year relevant? It is to me because they're really rolling out a very similar offense, and I don't think we've seen Dallas get going at all right now. With that said, they put up 20 against Pittsburgh, but that 20 could have been 30 plus. They went into the red zone 3 times. They came away with nothing on those 3 trips. Now, obviously, one will say, well, they shot themselves in the foot. They're not turning the ball over 3 times in the red zone at home on that fast track against the Detroit Lions. Both defenses are middle of the pack. Dallas is going to have no pass rush, leaving Goff to throw all day long. Mike is still out. Lawrence is still out. Their secondary is mediocre. I think Detroit's defense is medium at best. And I look at this game and I say, one of these teams gets into the 30s. This game goes over the total of 52. I think both teams can get into the 30s. I think we can see a 34-31 type game, which is like 12 over the total of 52. I love that it's on a fast track. I love that Detroit just came off of a big offensive outpouring against Seattle. And I like that Dallas moved the ball up and down the field on Pittsburgh last week. I like the over here, Teddy. What about you?
Well, Detroit's coming off a bye. They're not coming off Seattle. So
we know
it's a huge difference. Why are you rolling your eyes?
It makes my over better. It makes the over better. that they're coming off of a bye, from my perspective.
Okay.
Because why? Because I want to play to the definition of the teams. Detroit is a team that I think will go over more than under. I think they've defined themselves as a high-scoring team. Now they've had an extra week to work on what they do best, which is score points.
All right. Well, I mean, the Lions had scored 20, 16, and 26 in the 3 weeks prior to Seattle. I'm doing my analysis of the game. I got a minute to do it. And I'm not playing the game. Let me start with this. I'm just giving Prez trouble. I'm not playing the side. I'm not playing the total. If I had to play the side, I would play Detroit because I think Detroit's the better of these two teams.
Agreed.
It's not really necessarily that close, but I'm a little reluctant to play Dallas over right now. The offense is not clicking on all cylinders. We saw that in the Saints game. We saw that in the Steelers game. We saw that in the Giants game. The talent level might be there, but the offensive line play isn't for Dallas. And I think that'll be a problem against Detroit. So slight lean here towards the Lions, but nothing I'm likely to get to the window. Certainly not at -3. If we see 2.5, maybe I'll get involved, but we're not going to see a 2.5 on this game, which means I will be passing.
I'm totally with you. I agree on that side. Jessica asked if I like the under in the Florida-Ottawa game in NHL. Yes, I do, Jessica. And if you guys want to know my 5 NHL picks in my penalty box segment, head over to WagerTalk TV. Check out the penalty box segment. No presidential address today, as we did some NFL already. Teddy, good luck tonight. Have fun. I will see all of you guys on Tuesday. Be well, everybody. Teddy, take us home.
Sure. Thank you so much, really, for taking part out of your busy day, taking time out of your busy day, taking part of your busy day to hang out with us on Wager Talk today. We appreciate it. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the follows. We appreciate the comments very much. Best of luck. Whatever sport you're betting tonight, there's a bunch of them. And we'll see you guys tomorrow with another edition of Wager Talk Today. Cheers.